Good afternoon, everyone, and you're watching ASEAN Business Report. This is the mid-week update, and you're with us. I'm Natakon Plodi.
I'm also here with you, Ong Anan Amatiyakun. We're exploring Thailand today with the flood situation that has caused a death toll of total 237 lives in 28 provinces all over Thailand.
Also, calculated economic damage could sum up to 20 to 40 billion baht. And there's also an update, Kun Ong Anan, on the Twitter hacker.
That's right, of the Prime Minister's account.
The ICT Minister, Kun Anudit Nakhonthap, is going to hold a press conference today at 2 o'clock.
Right, and just to review who the hacker is, right?
Yep.
And also we have a story on the new SEC Secretary General, and his name is Kun Warapon Sokati Yanurak.
Yes, as last week he was appointed but not approved because he was still remaining as a director for like a listed company.
That's right. And okay, we are starting off today with Thailand has experienced significant inundation during the current rainy season, with damages being estimated by various agencies between 20 billion to 40 billion baht. According to JP Morgan report issued this morning, of the total financial damage, about 16 billion baht incurs the crop and livestock. The impact has been large from a social perspective, with most areas suffering from the worst flood in 50 years. JP Morgan said the flood is affecting 1.8 million Thais, or 2.7% of the population. The flood will trim about 0.2 to 0.3% of the country's gross domestic product, it added. Excessive rainfall has led the dams in the north and the northeast reaching near full capacity, prompting the discharge of water. With flooding having stretched through August and September, the Royal Irrigation Department, or RID, estimates that the flood levels peaked on October the 2nd and forecasts a gradual subsidence thereafter. The overall area sustaining the damage is around 17% lower this year than in 2010. The country's 4 largest dams are holding water at full capacity, with Phumipon Dam at 93%, Sirikit Dam at 99%, Ubon Rat 106%, and Lampao at 101%. The risk of further rainfall or tropical storms could cause the period of inundation to be extended into November 11th, the start of the primary rice harvesting season. On a positive note, JP Morgan said with all major dams at or near capacity, the outlook for the irrigated second crop season for the first half of 2012 is bright. In recent years, lower than expected or very location-specific rainfall has led to water scarcity for irrigation, leading to lower second crops. As the irrigated crops tend to be primarily allocated to domestic consumption, this also suggests lower food-related price pressure in 2012.
I'd also like to add that these dam capacity figures are never been seen before in Thai history at 90%
right. It's really,
or more.
really high.
It could go bad even more, but let's move on to the Finance Ministry now. Would like the Bank of Thailand to assume the 1 trillion baht in liabilities of the Financial Institution Development Fund, which bailed out the financial system during the 1997 to 1998 crisis. This followed a meeting between Thirachai Phuanat Naranuban, the finance minister, and Dr. Prasan Trairat Warakun, the Bank of Thailand governor, to discuss the key policy objectives. Writing in his Facebook, Thirachai said he has told Prasan to assess the financial impact to the central bank if the finance ministry were to transfer all the liabilities of 1.1 trillion of the fund to the central bank. Thirachai also suggested whether it is possible to collect fees from the commercial banks to pay for the fund's liabilities. Paying the liabilities of the fund has been a long-standing conflict between the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Thailand. The Finance Ministry would like to end its contribution of paying off the fund's debt so that it can save its budget for other spending programs. The Bank of Thailand still incurs operational losses, so it is not in a position to pay off the fund's debt in earnest. Prasad has proposed that the Finance Ministry look at the possibility of using its assets to pay off the fund's debt, or that the central bank could find a way to pay off the fund's debt by maneuvering its own accounting. On the sovereign wealth fund, the central bank said the objective must be clear as to whether the sovereign wealth fund aims to make money or acts as a strategy for the country. In practice, the central bank might use a portion of its international reserve to subscribe to the finance ministry's bond so that the proceeds can be used to set up the sovereign wealth fund. Tirashai said he would like the central bank to work on the operational plan for the sovereign wealth fund and particularly how to prevent political interference in the management of the fund. On the inflation targeting framework, both Tirashai and Prasan have agreed that headline inflation will be used as the anchor of monetary policy rather than core inflation. Core inflation in practice does not fully reflect the price movements because it leaves out food and energy indices. The headline inflation target might be set at 3% annually instead of on the quarterly basis. Initially, the headline inflation might allow the rate to fluctuate plus or minus 1.5% against the 3.0 percentage rate.
Let's move to the Western Hemisphere of the world for a little bit, with France and Belgium stepped in Tuesday to guarantee the financing of troubled cross-border bank Dexia as its shares plunged spectacularly ahead of the confirmation that it is to be broken up. The two states' shareholders in a bank that specializes in investing in local government funds acted as Dexia faced the threat of becoming the first major European institution to fall victim to the Eurozone debt crisis. Shares in the Franco-Belgian bank plunged more than 37% in early trade on Tuesday, later trimming the closing loss around 20% as French and Belgian finance ministers issued a statement of support. In the framework of Dexia's restructuring, the governments of France and Belgium, in coordination with the central banks, will take all necessary steps to ensure the protection of depositors and creditors, they said. To this end, they undertake to guarantee any finance raised by Dexia. After an emergency late-night meeting, Belgium approved the creation of a so-called bad bank to house Dexia's riskiest debts while protecting its core business, so confirming its dismantling. Finance Minister Didier Reynders told journalists that all that concerns the past, notably long-term loans that were struck with local authorities, will be guaranteed by the two countries. The goal is to isolate 95 billion euros worth of risky assets that the bank has been trying to get rid of for years, he said. He said, "Our will is to consolidate, reinforce and secure the banking activity in Belgium, like our French colleagues will do in France," Reynders said. Belgium's central bank also moved to reassure account holders, saying central bank of both Belgium and France fully support Dexia. As the Moody's rating agency put Dexia on review for downgrade, officials in Paris said French State Investment Fund and the bank arm of the French Postal Service are jointly working on a plan to take on some of the activities of the ailing bank. The Caisse de dépôt and the state-owned Banque Postale plan to take over the financing of around 80 billion euros of the French and Belgian local government's assets now on Dexia's book, CDC officials said.